Welcome to the TAE Program Introduction Webinar Series. This webinar is on Introduction to Training Packages, Qualifications and Units of Competency. Welcome, my name is Murray Humphrey and I'm a training assessor with Inspire Education, and I look forward to taking you, the new students, through this webinar, and I hope it helps you with your course and your studies. The webinar learning outcomes. During this webinar, the student will identify and explain training packages, qualifications and units of competency. The first thing I'd like to take you through is understanding training packages, qualifications and the unit of competency hierarchy. This is to get you to understand a concept. I'm going to be talking about the different training packages, qualifications and units of competency, and this analogy or concept I need you to understand is that there's one big box, and as you open them up we reveal more details of the qualifications, and as you open them up you open up units of competency, and there is this structure, there is this level in which you need to understand. Now and then we'll start getting more into the detail of what the training packages, the qualifications and the units of competency are. So let's start looking at this hierarchy. The first thing you'll understand is that under vocational education training, there are a whole lot of training packages that document the knowledge and skills for different industries. So as I said to you, let's take, for example, we're looking at one training package. And in this training package, it is the big box. And as you open up that box, we start to reveal smaller boxes that are contained within this training package for the industry. And within, as you open them up, you will see smaller boxes, and those are what we call the qualifications. And we'll define these, but these are roles that are contained within the training package. So we've gone down to this second level of the hierarchy. First of all, looking at the training packages, open that box up, we have a whole lot of smaller boxes called the qualifications. And if we go down another level, and by opening up the qualification box, we come to what we call a whole lot of smaller boxes called the units of competency. And these list a number of again tasks within those roles with what we call the qualifications. So again, I really would like you to understand, before we go through and qualify what is a training package, qualification and a unit of competency, that you understand that we're looking at this hierarchy, with the training package being the big picture, breaking that, opening that box up, and we come into smaller, or a subset of the training package called qualifications, open up the qualification box, and we have these, again, this smaller subset within the qualification called units of competency. The first thing we need to talk about now is defining what a training package is. A training package, as you can see from the slide there, is a set of nationally endorsed standards and qualifications used to recognize and assess the skills and knowledge people need to perform effectively in the workplace. And I've just given you there an example of the TAE 10 Training and Education Training Package. This is the big picture document that contains all the qualifications and units of competency that you're currently undertaking for the certificate for qualification in training and assessment. Now, within the training package itself, there are what we call the endorsed components, and there are 4 endorsed components in a training package. And you'll see there that they're made up of the introductory information, the assessment guidelines, and the qualifications framework, and finally the competency standards. And again, within that structure, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about previously, where if you open up the big box, you'll reveal the qualification framework, which contain the qualifications, or the competency standards, which are the units of competency. If we look at the training package, you'll see that it has the introductory information, has information about the modification history, the preliminary information, the summary mapping, the overview and introduction to that industry that represents that training package. The assessment guidelines sets out what the evidence requirements are for that particular training package. As we said, we train and assess the knowledge and skills requirements for that industry, and that is set out in the assessment guidelines. And it has the competency requirements for the assessors and the general assessment guidance for any RTO that are looking to train the knowledge and skills within that training package. We then have the third part or third endorsed component of the training package, which is the qualifications framework. That is information about the AQF or the Australian Qualifications Framework, qualifications level, and also the qualification packaging rules. And we're going to look at those in more detail with this webinar. And finally, we have the competency standards that are made up of a number of units within that training package. And again, if you understand that whole analogy of opening up a bigger box into the next level, which is the qualification, opening up those smaller boxes to get into the units of competency, which are the competency standards. In relation to, there is also another introductory webinar that you will be looking at, where you will find the information, and that is the webinar on training.gov.au, which is the public domain database where you'll find all these details on training packages, qualifications, and units of competency. Now, with the training package, we've talked about the endorsed components. What I want to do now is move down to the part which we call the non-endorsed components. And with the non-endorsed components of a training package, there are the learning materials, the assessment materials, and the trainer guides. Now, in relation to that, the training package and the endorsed components sets out the requirements on what we have to train and assess against for an RTO. The unendorsed requirements are the design components that the registered training organisation puts together itself in relation to its learning materials, in relation to the PowerPoint slides, the learner guides, any webinars that like this one, we're putting together to support the endorsed components. It's the non-endorsed components are what the RTO, the Registered Training Organisation, designs to train its students, as well as its assessment materials that it puts together. For example, you're going through the certificate in training and assessment. You are going to go through a number of projects and written assessments. These are designed by our RTO, Inspire Education, to take you through the certificate in training and assessment. And finally, there are the trainer guides we use to support our staff in supporting the students through the course. So understand there are two parts to a training package. There are the endorsed components, which set out for all RTOs what they're required to train and assess for that particular training package set out for a particular industry. And then there are the non-endorsed components that an RTO is able to put together itself or design to support their students for those endorsed components. All RTOs will apply the endorsed components, whereas each RTO will design their own learning materials and assessment materials and trainer guides for the non-endorsed components. I hope you understand the concept of those two components. Moving down, you're going to see in relation to the training packages, each have their own unique code, and you need to understand, to be able to work with the training packages, you need to understand the codes that are represented for them. And here you're seeing a simple activity called breaking the code. And what I'm introducing to you here is that a training package code here is, we've talked about it, is the TAE10, Training and Assessment and Education Training Package 10. And what do these numbers here mean? TAE10, well, let's have a look at it. First one stands for TAE, stands for the Training and education training package. So, and every training package has its own unique 3-letter code. Moving down, you'll see then, if we have a look at 10, it is the year of endorsement, or the year that this training package was currently endorsed, and this was was 2010. As I said to you, every training package has its own unique 5-digit code. For example, you'll see others, BSB07. That represents the BSB represents the Business Services Training Package, and 07 represents 2010, which is the year of endorsement. Moving down, we've talked about the training package. The next thing I want to talk about is the qualification level. Remember, the training package sets out the knowledge and skills for a particular industry group, and there are an endorsed and non-endorsed components. The qualifications is part of the endorsed components under the qualification framework. And the qualification, this is the component of a training package, and the information provided in this section includes a list of work roles relevant to the qualification, a list of qualification prerequisites, if any, and the packaging rule details of the core and elective units or units of competency required to complete the qualification, and then finally the employability skills applicable to the qualification. So understand again, we've looked at this first, we've looked at a training package, we've opened up that box. In that box, when we open it up, we see the smaller boxes that represent the qualifications that are relevant to their training package. And for example, you're undergoing a Certificate 4 in training and assessment, and this is one of the smaller boxes after you've opened up the training package TAE 10. And what I want to show you now is quickly moving down, as a part of a qualification, there are the employability skills, and there are 8 employability skills that you need to understand and make up in a qualification, and they are learning, teamwork, communication, initiative and enterprise, problem solving, planning and organizing, self-management, technology, and getting back to learning. What would need you to understand, the employability skills are what we call the generic skills. These are the knowledge and skills that are transferable across all qualifications, across all the training packages. And they are what we call the generic skills. In that this is what the employer is looking to review in relation to their employment of your students across these sectors. And also, I need to make you aware of, within the qualification, they also have their own unique codes. And as you go through the learning content in the coming weeks, you're going to become more familiar with these codes. But again, as you open up a training package with their 5-digit code, and you'll come across all the different qualifications and their unique codes. And you'll see here we have a qualification, and this is the qualification code for the Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment that you are currently undertaking. And you'll see there it is TAE 40110. What does that code represent, and what is it made up of? Let's have a look at those. First of all, we have the TAE, and that is the training, and it represents the training package that qualification is a part of, the training and education training package. We then have the next one, which is 4, and this 4 represents the qualification, the Australian qualification framework level for the qualification. And as you'll come to learn, there are 10 levels of the qualification framework, and it's supported in the other webinars in this series, and you'll come to learn that this is a level 4 qualification, or a Certificate 4 qualification in training and assessment. We then go to the next part of the code, which is 01, As 01 represents this is the first level 4 qualification in the training package. So 04 represents within this training package there may be a number of certificate 4 qualifications, and this is the first, and it's represented by 01. And as I said, if there was another Cert 4 qualification, it would be represented by TAE 402, which would be the second level 4 qualification in the training package. And the final part of this code is 10, and that is represent again similarly to the training package code, the year of endorsement. So as you'll see there, TAE 40110 is broken down into this code. You will find the qualifications through, as I explained to you, www.training.gov.au, and what I want to show you now is take you through a document that you would download from that website. I didn't take you through a training package, for it is a huge document. It contains all the qualifications and contains all the units of competency. And to go through a particular training package, which can be up to 10,000 pages or more, so they are huge. But I'm going to take you through now and take you through what is made up in a qualification, as we've described earlier. So let's go and have a look at those details now. So, and what we've got here is I've downloaded previously for this webinar a diploma of management, and this is from the highlight for you from the BSB 07 training package, or the business services training package. And as you'll see there, similar to what I've already described, is the code BSB, which is the training package code. 5 is the AQF level, and it's a level 5, which is a diploma level qualification. 11 is the 11th qualification the 11th diploma qualification in the business services training package, and 07 is the year of endorsement, and this is the diploma of management. And if you have a look here in relation to this was downloaded, this is a qualification under the BSB training package, and as I've described to you earlier, this is the information that you will find in the qualification. First of all, you have your descriptor, and it gives you a brief description on what this qualification is about. It reflects the roles of individuals who are engaged to manage the work of others and to add value and to review management practices. Their role may be for any industry or organizational setting. Typically, people in these roles will have considerable experience in their respective industries or vocational areas and combine an informed perspective of specific work requirements with their managerial approaches. The qualification requires a sound theoretical knowledge base and managerial competencies to plan, carry out, and evaluate their own work and the work of a team. If you have a look there, it then sets out the work roles for the qualification, which is a manager. And as you move down through this document, it then defines for you the qualification pathways. It tells you that the pathways to the qualification can come through the Certificate 4 in Frontline Management, which is a lower level in the Australian Qualifications Framework, or with vocational experience. It also gives you their pathway for the qualification can take them through to a BSB 6, which is a advanced diploma in management. It talks about the licensing requirements, takes you down into the packaging rules for the qualification. You'll see here, and you'll find as you move through our course, we will talk to you about the different requirements for the qualification. And as you move down, this packaging rule has There are 7, this has 8 packaging rules. There are a total of 8 units of competency. They can be 8 electives made up of 5 elective units must be selected from Group A, and 3 electives may be selected from Group A units or Group B units. And as you have a look there, it breaks down the units into the elective groups. There's the Group A electives. I'm not going to go into them in detail. And then as you go through this document, we then come to the Group B electives. It then talks about the employability skills that are highlighted for you earlier in relation to the following table of the employability skills, and the 8 areas that are made up for this qualification. And that is a qualification that you can download off training.gov.au that you'll become more familiar with as you move through this course. Now, getting back to our slideshow in relation to breaking the code, we've been through this detail here for the qualification code, being level 4. Now we've moved into the unit of competency. And in relation to the unit of competency, to give you details, we've taken you through there. The unit of competency, this is a component of a training package, and each unit of competency specifies the workplace requirements for performance of one role or task that someone may have to perform in a workplace as part of their work role. It also sets out the knowledge and skills for the role and what RTOs must train and assess against. What I want to say to you is the unit of competency is a very important document that you'll become familiar with as you move through the course. I want to highlight for you in relation to this, just reviewing what we've been through. We've looked at in relation to that concept. We've talked about the importance of the training package, opening that box. We then move down into the next level where we have a number of smaller boxes in relation to a number of qualifications, of which I took you through one. And then you open up the qualification box into the next level down, which is the unit of competency. And it's these documents that you're going to be doing quite a lot of work through in the design cluster, through the Cert 4, through the Inspire Education Cert 4 in training and assessment. Just to highlight for you again, in relation to the unit of competency, you're going to become familiar with these this code. And you'll see there, this is the code of the TAE DES 401A. And again, you need to understand and be able to break down these codes. And let's have a look at what each of these areas represent. First of all, we've got the TAE. Again, the TAE represents the training package that the unit of competency is from. And this one is from the Training and Education Training Package. We then talk about the next series of letters, DES, and this represents the code or field that this unit of competency is from in the training package. And this is from the design field or cluster within the training and assessment, training and education training package. We then have 4, and by the way, there are a number of fields that you're going to become familiar with within the training assessment package. There is design, there is delivery, which is representative of DEL, and then there is the assessment cluster, which is representative ASS. Moving down, we come to the next code, which is 4. We have which is the Australian Qualification Framework level, and this is a level 4 or certificate 4 level unit qualification. We then break it down into 01, which is the first unit in the field. Now we've highlighted here, there is the design. This is a unit of competency from the design cluster, and you'll find that there are another number of units of competency within this field. This is the first one, representative 01. The next one the next unit of competency from this field or cluster would be TAE DES 402 and so forth, 0304. Okay, the final part we have is A, and that is representative of the version or revision number, and every time there is a change in a unit of competency, being the knowledge of a skill, it will be highlighted by the letter A. So as you come on your course, all this foundation knowledge that we'll take into you will become far more clearer to you in relation to the details of your course. As we move down through this course, I now want to take you through to the and show you a unit of competency and make you so that you're more familiar with a unit of competency. And here I've introduced you to a unit of competency, and this is called, the unit of competency here is again BSB REL 401A, and the title or role of this unit of competency is Established Networks. I want to highlight for you here the BSB. BSB is the training package code it's from, which is the Business Services Training Package. REL is the field or cluster that this unit of competency relates to, and as you'll see down here, this is the relationship management field. We've got here the competency field is relationship management, represented by REL. 4 is it's a Cert 4 level unit of competency, Certificate 4 level unit of competency. 01 represents it's the first unit of competency in the relationship management field, and A is it's the first version. There's been no revision yet on this one. If there was, it would be representative B. All units of competency, now I want to say to you, units of competency are a very important design document you're going to come across, and they are all in this similar format. You'll see them as being, each will have a unit descriptor which sets out what this unit is about, and it describes the performance outcomes, skills and knowledge required to develop and maintain effective work relationships and skills. It gives it, again, the unit, the employability skills, which we've talked about. This is a very brief discussion, tells you here contains employability skills. The prerequisite units, there are no prerequisites for this unit of competency. You can pick up and run with this unit of competency. It tells you about the application. By the way, every unit of competency that you're going to work with is set out in this same format to give us as trainers and assessors in vocational education and training a uniform approach to understanding the units of competency. It breaks down what an application of the unit is, what it is meant to be, gives you more detail similar to the descriptor. It tells you what the competency field is, as I've talked about earlier. As we move down, we then come to this breakdown in what we call the element and performance criteria, and these are very important. I want to highlight for you the unit of competency is what we call a role within the industry, represented within that training package. Okay, if we go down, we come to the elements. Now, if you talk about the role, the element is like the tasks that make up that role. And as you'll see, the role for this unit is established networks. If you break that down into the steps within that role, we have develop and maintain business networks. The second task within this role is establish and maintain business relationships. And then the third task within this role is promote the relationship. And if we move down, there are only 3 tasks within this role. So, and you've got there, and then we have off this task, we have what we call the performance criteria, or in layman's terms, what I want to describe to you are the steps of that task within that role of establish networks. So you keep breaking them down. It's similar. We have the role, then we have break it down into the tasks of that role, and then we have the steps of that role, which are the performance criteria. So in layman terms, I'm going to talk to you about roles, tasks, and steps, but from a trainer and assessor in vocational education, they talk about units of competency being the role, the elements being the task, and the performance criteria being the steps. Okay, so there's 3 levels there. And what I want to if you understand there, here is the first task, and here are the steps of that task. Steps 1.1, steps 1.2. So if we have a look there, this one here is use appropriate network strategies to establish and maintain relationships that promote the development of business opportunities. I want to highlight for you, this is very important because this is the performance criteria, or the steps of those tasks for that role are what we in the vocational education and training section must train and assess against. And you'll see there that the elements describe the essential outcomes of the unit of competency, whereas the performance criteria, it highlights there, performance criteria describe the performance needed to demonstrate the achievement of the element. And again, we'll talk more about it. So you're going to become very familiar with these performance criteria because this is what we train and assess against, and this is what we design our learning programs against, and our sessions in which we deliver and which we assess our candidates against. All this language will start opening up for you as you move through. I'm not going to take you through, I'm just highlighting for you what represents a unit of competency. I've taken you through the descriptor, the elements, the performance criteria. We then take all units of competency have required knowledge and skills. It's got there, this section describes the skills and knowledge required for this unit. To deem somebody competent in this unit of competency through your training assessment, this is what you're looking them to have, the required skills and the required knowledge. We then move down into the unit of competency. We come to what we call the range statement, and this is very important. Read here, the range statement relates to the unit of competency as a whole. It allows for the different work environments and situations that may affect performance. Bold italicized wording, if used in performance criteria, which we talked about earlier, is detailed below. The essential operating conditions may be representative of the training assessment depending on the work situation, needs of the candidate, accessibility of the item, and local and industry regional context may also include. So again, when we talk about this role within an industry, it's a generic statement. Okay, if we go up here, you'll see here that we have the performance criteria, and this is what we train and assess against, the element and the performance criteria. And you'll see here, use the appropriate network strategies. You'll notice there that it's bold and italicized. It's a generic statement for what we would require within that industry for that training package. The range statement, and you'll see there, bold and italicized, network strategies. If we go down into the unit of competency further, in relation to the required knowledge and skills and the range statement, you'll see the range statement has, which we've just showed you above, network strategies may include associate memberships, conference participation, distributing materials, individual marketing. Now, may include maintaining regular contacts and seminar attendance. Now, this is important because the range statement enables you to take this generic unit of competency and what we call contextualize or reword the performance criteria to the hundreds of workplaces that may be representative of this in this industry. So again, without going into the detail, the performance criteria and the range statement work together, that you're able to take a generic unit of competency and tailor it to the individual workplaces that make up that industry. And you're able to change the performance criteria around this range statement for the workplace. And as we go through this range statement, that may vary for a particular industry, for the workplaces in that industry, we have these bold italicized words that relate back to the unit of competency. We've got their feedback maybe, and the final part of the unit of competency is the evidence guide. And the evidence guide provides advice on assessment and must be read in conjunction with the performance criteria, the required knowledge and skills, range statement, and the assessment guideline for the training package. So again, in relation to the performance criteria, that's what we train and assess against. The range statement gives us the ability to change the unit of competency to individual workplaces, and the evidence guide is the specific part of this document which tells us how we must assess it for the people that we're training and assessing. You'll see here the critical aspects of assessment, the context and specific resources for the assessment, and the methods of assessment that we may use for the unit of competency. And it gives you guidance information. And that is representative of a unit of competency, and again, it is consistently for all documented units of competency. You're going to see them in that format: the descriptor, the performance criteria, the range statement, and the evidence guides are the important parts of a unit of competency. So let's move back into our PowerPoint slide. And that completes this webinar. Just to review what we've been through for you is I've taken you through what a training package is, I've taken you through what a qualification is, and I've taken you through what a unit of competency. To reflect on that, I need you to understand the big picture, and all the documents are contained within the training package. You open those up and they will reveal to you a number of smaller boxes which we call the qualifications. Again, if you open up those smaller boxes, you will then be introduced to a whole lot more smaller boxes in those qualifications, which are make up the units of competency that make up those qualifications.